Blackout viewers. I am T. Douglas, and I am here with another episode of Vivid Voices. And today I have a special guest with me. This person I got to meet at a conference a couple years ago, and I was very enamored by her work. Um,
Enamored. That's a big word. Okay.
by her work, and I just thought it would be a great she would be a great person to share with all of our viewers and the work that she does. So I will let her introduce herself. um the show is yours.
All right. My name is Dr. Lulu. Nice to meet everyone. Nice to, I guess, meet everyone. I am a Nigerian born, self described agitator of governors and legislatures because somebody has to do that. I am also a pansexual, proudly queer mama beast of three. My eldest happens to be transgender. Otherwise, the other two I'm raising and socializing as boys or men in America, which I spell with three Ks. I am a gender and sexuality life coach, and I help parents specifically understand what their children are saying when their kids say that they're lesbian or bisexual or trans or whatever. I try to stand in the gap between the child and the parent to help the parent understand what the kid just said. And then I also help queer folks come out of hiding with pizzazz and confidence and pride and just stop hiding already in spite of their parents. I also, in my spare time, love karaoke. So you will catch me on any given Wednesday downtown, or rather uptown here, or rather midtown is the word, midtown here in Atlanta, at my sister's room, which is a lesbian hangout where I go to karaoke on Wednesdays because there's no cover. And also, I love to read and I love to write. So on any given day, I'm either freelance writing online or writing one of my books. And yes, I
Yeah.
also have a podcast. I forget that. I also have a podcast called Moms, the number four, Trans Kids. So Moms for Trans Kids, and you can find us anywhere good podcasts are streamed. You. So that's it.
All of that, y'all, all of that. So this is you see why I said she can say her own bio, because I didn't want to leave nothing out of all of the great work that she does. But yeah, let's just get into a little bit of questions.
Yes, let's
Can you
talk.
tell us a little bit about your journey, into the work that you do, into community, and how you got
I
started?
think I like the word accidental advocate. I like that phrase. I don't know if I made it up or if somebody else made it up, but I'm accidental advocate, but really just an all-round activist. I think when you find yourself born in Nigeria, bred in Nigeria, buttered in Nigeria, slightly burned in Nigeria, one of the more maybe most religious countries out there and also one of the most homophobic countries out there. So just kind of gives you a picture of how religion and homophobia kind of go hand in hand in today's world. Whereas once upon a time, the entire continent of Africa was not homophobic. We welcomed our queer people, our queer family members, and then came religion, and then here we are today. So I was raised in Nigeria, went to medical school in Nigeria, discovered that I was not straight in Nigeria. And I told my dad at that time I identified as a lesbian to begin with, and then bisexual. And once I found the word bisexual, I was like, okay, this is great. This is kind of sort of who I am. I like boys and I like girls. And then most recently, I discovered that I'm actually not bisexual. I'm more pansexual because I'm also attracted to trans people. But what happened was I really just know that I'm attracted to intellect. And so sapiosexual is really the best description of me. But then there's also, because I don't care about people's genitalia. And I'm just attracted to the person that I'm looking at, in front of me. And I found out that the word for that is pansexual. Okay, this is good. I mean, this is right. But I go by sapio pansexual. That to me, I think is most descriptive of who I am. Just also identifying with the fact that humans by nature are not monolithic. We are all of these things and then some. And maybe there's a better word to describe me out there, but I haven't found it yet. And so, as we were talking about before we went live, I put on my dating app, the Facebook that got hacked, I put on a dating app there that I am sapiopansexual. And if you don't know what that means, then you're not my person. And so a bunch of people are like, I'm sapiosexual, or oh, you're pansexual. What does that mean? And all the things. But it has opened up a layer of conversation that maybe people were not aware of or just didn't think existed. And I like to be the one to lead people into spaces where they like didn't even think that they were in. So when I give a talk, I usually ask, where are my queer folks at? And then a few people raise up their hands. And then I ask, well, for those who did not raise up their hands, how many of you are demisexual? And then they're like, wait, what? And I say, okay, somebody please look up the phrase. And then they look up demisexual and they're like, oh, I think I'm demisexual, because demisexuals are people who have to first be emotionally attached before they become sexually attracted. And I was like, wow. And that's me. And then they're like, oh, I am too. And then me too, and me too. So I like to be one of those people who open doors to conversations that people would ordinarily not have. So here I am today.
So you grew up in Nigeria, went to medical school in Nigeria, and when did you move to the United States? Or what brought you here?
Well, multiple things. So I moved here December 4th, 1994, because I'll be exactly 30 years old December 4th, 2024. So I'm going to be having a big party to celebrate my 30th anniversary of moving to the US, which happens to also it'll be like my 11th month anniversary of living in Atlanta. So I'm just going to have a party just because, to celebrate that. So I came here to go to residency, to go to Howard University. Hey, y'all. To go to Howard University. Hi, Real Stud Mom. Hi, Monique. To go to Howard University as my as a to become a pediatrician. So I came here basically bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I was hit with a lot of shock coming from a relatively a different, let me just go with a different upbringing. Coming to America was shocking, but I'm here today, thriving. So yeah.
And when you how did you get into the advocacy work that you do now? What brought you into that space?
I think as a physician, you're always an advocate. So I've always been an advocate. I'm the first of six kids. So I've been an advocate for my siblings when I was younger. When I was in high school, I was one of the prefects. I don't know if they have that here, but they call them prefects. So as a prefect, you're an advocate for your juniors. So I think advocacy has always been in my blood. Yeah. Yeah, it's always been in my blood. This is just a different form of advocacy, but I've always been an advocate in one form of the or the other. So I've always been an advocate for the queer community. Maybe it's my most recent advocacy, because even as a queer person in Nigeria, I had to kind of mute that button, because Nigeria is largely, like I said, religious and largely homophobic. And I just muted the button. The volume was just turned really, really low, but it always had been there. And I just unmuted it this year, or in the last few years, since my child shared their own gender identity with me. I didn't really care about my sexuality as far as like talking about it. It didn't matter to me. But as a parent, when your child has a diagnosis or has something happening, then you kind of wake up all your advocacy and allyship senses or sensors as a parent. So I didn't start doing this work until my child shared that they were transgender. And I was like, okay, what is going on here? And what do I have to do? And how do we do it? So that's kind of where that started.
And when your child first told you that she was transgender, how did you initially like navigate through that journey with her?
I think it's always best to start from the very beginning. as Maria von Trapp said in the movie Sound of Music. It's always a good place to start. So I had my suspicions because I birthed the child and we assigned the child male gender. And I always want to go back there to remind parents that we are the ones that usually assign a gender identity to our children before our children come to terms with their own gender identity at the age of 2. So I told, my ex-husband and I, we told the child that they are male, and we try to raise the child or socialize the child as male. Because in today's world, most of us assign gender based on genitalia. So now that I do the work, I call it a genital identity. Hi, Okui. That's what I say. So parents assign a genital identity to their children because that's what we see. That's what we're aware of. But it's really not what it is. All it is you see the child's genitalia and you assume that they are the sex that is in alignment with their genitals. But now we know that gender does not occur in your genitalia. Gender occurs in your brain or in your heart or in your mind, which I don't know what part of the body is the mind. With up here, but really your mind is all of your body. That's where transformation occurs. That's where gender identity occurs. Oh no. Can you hear me?
Breaking up a
I
little
think we're
bit.
back. Can you hear me?
Let me
Hello?
see. Hello? Hello?
Oh dear. Hi, Okui. Yes,
Can you
okay,
hear me?
we're back now. Yes, yes. I saw. I can hear you. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I can see you moving. I can see you moving. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, I
Oh,
got
you can
you
hear
back.
me. Okay. Yeah, I didn't say anything. I was just trying to make sure that you could hear me because I could see you moving, and I figured it told me that my Wi-Fi was unstable. So I was like, okay, that must be it. But can you hear
Yeah,
me now?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, super. So yeah, so where was I?
You were just talking about how parents assign
Oh,
um
yes, yes. Parents assign a gender identity to their children based on genital observation. So my job is to help parents understand that that is not where gender is. Gender is up here in your mind, in your brain, and not down here in your genitalia. So as the child was growing, I noticed that my child was acting more feminine based on society's assignment of what feminine behavior should be. So I was like, okay, so you're not a girl, you can't act like a girl. This is not right. You should be acting like a boy. And my poor kid was like, Mom, what's a girl? What's a girl's behavior? This is me. And I was like, no, that's not you. You're a boy. So I want people to understand that we as parents, we're the first ones to mislead our kids. We're the first ones to misgender them. We're the first ones to misassign them. And we're also the first ones to mislead them. And thankfully, the damage was not done for too long because my kid was like, no, mom, I'm actually not a boy. I'm actually a girl. And the rest, as they see, is history. So that's where the advocacy and allyship started, or should start, rather. In my case, it didn't start till the kid was 20. That's really old. But thankfully, for the rest of their life, the rest of the time that they're going to be on earth, they can live in truth and live out loud and the way that we should be. So I don't know how long my kid is going to live for, but at least I know that for the rest of their life, they're going to live as the true gender that they are, another one that we assigned them.
that's beautiful. I love that. So I also work with gender expansive youth. And I was just curious, what are some of the common misconceptions about trans and gender expansive youth that you encounter from parents, and how do you address them?
Yeah, I think it's fair to begin by saying just holding space for parents, because my dad also was one of those parents who, while I'm not gender expansive, my dad actually kind of thinks I might be gender queer, but while I do not identify as gender expansive, I'm totally cisgender. Um, I think it's important to hold space for parents for a minute, in the sense that parents don't know what they don't know. No one knows what they don't know. So coming from that angle, I want us to understand that parents do not know what they don't know. However, I just mentioned yesterday in my Facebook group that to the parents that every single knowledge you have about your queer child comes from a largely unqueer world. So it's important for us to know that when your child now tells you that they're queer, you need to listen to your child, because everything you've known has been informed by a world that is not queer. And so going from that angle, then you need to straighten up and fly right and lean in, because now your child tells you who they are. You need to discard everything that you knew up until that point. So the main misconceptions are usually the common ones. My dad told me it was a phase. So a lot of parents think it's a phase, pray it's a phase, hope it's a phase. In fact, they do everything in their power to push their kid in that direction. So it becomes a phase, but it's not a phase. A lot of parents think it's probably from sexual assault. That maybe because you were sexually assaulted as a child and now you are averse to the gender of the person that assaulted you, or or now you are inclined to the gender of the person that assaulted, just depending on which way it went. In my case, I was sexually assaulted by a male, so of course it's easy for people to think that, oh, well, that's why you like women, but wait, I also like men. So it's obviously not sexual assault. Another misconception is that it's your peers, or it's that your child's peers. Oh, it's because you're hanging out with Dr. Lulu's kid. That's why you're I don't know, gender diverse. It's not, because the truth is, if hanging out with gender diverse children makes somebody gender diverse, then it should go both ways. So that means hanging out with cisgender people should also make people cisgender. So because I'm writing a book, I've obviously gone through most of these misconceptions, and I'm able to tell you why they're misconceptions. A lot of people think is because that the child was straight until they went off to school. And now they went to school, now they've learned this new behavior. The truth is, the child has always been who they were when they were at home. However, going to school gave them the audacity to come back and tell you that this is who I am. Going to school exposed them to other people who are living authentic lives. So yes, going to school in a way gave them their wings, but going to school is not when they became who they are. So that's it's important to tell the difference there. A lot of people think, it's because the parents encourage them. A lot of people who come at me on social media come at me because they insist that I am the one that's grooming my child. That's the word that we're using. So I want to tell those people that, in what world do you think any parent will say, let me see, what am I going to do with my child? I got it. Let me groom my child to be gay because that's what I want. A lot of parents go through a lot of mental health struggles just by their children being queer or gender diverse or even sexually diverse. I want people to understand that no parent in their right minds in today's world, even a queer parent, will pray for their child to be queer because they know what the child is going to face. So those are just a few of the misconceptions. A lot of things that parents do go through are the thoughts of, what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen to my child, What are my parents going to say? What are my friends going to say? What's the church going to say? What's the coworkers going to say? What's my spouse going to say? Because a lot of times the moms are the ones that find out first, that are told first, that are given the gift of knowledge first before their dads. And so mothers struggle more with that. Mothers are the majority of people in my Facebook group because most of the dads don't want to hear about it, you know? So it's a real struggle for parents. I want people to understand that it's not easy being a parent of a queer child. However, that said, we can do hard things. We've been doing hard things, and this is just one more hard thing that you can do. I say that because the biggest transformation lies in the parent. So what I did for myself was I realized that I did not have to accept my child. I needed to accept myself. There's two big different things, acceptance and affirmation. So once I accepted myself, then can effectively affirm my child. So the word is self-acceptance versus affirmation. And so acceptance of yourself is an internal thing. And then from the acceptance, from the abundance of self-acceptance of this identity comes affirmation. So everything you do outwardly to make your child feel seen and validated is what is affirmation. So that's kind of what I've come up with. So all the support you're going to give to your child, all the knowledge you're going to get for yourself, all the things you're going to do to and for your child, to the outside world and all that is what's affirmation. But first, you have to self-accept the identity because parents do not believe that their child is anything but normal. So we need to start learning how to anticipate that your child may very well be gay, even before the baby is born, so that you can be ready for what may come. So that's a long answer.
But I love the explanation of that answer. You have a way of explaining things from not only like a parent's point of view, but just a very like affirming point of view as well. So I really like that answer. Um,
Thank you.
And I really only have one other question for you. So coming from like a pediatrician's point of view, what changes would you like to see in healthcare regarding trans and gender expansive youth?
Oh, I love it. That's almost an identical question to asking a parent, asking me the question about the parent. A lot today, as a physician, as a pediatrician, I wouldn't say I get a lot of slack from other doctors, but I do get a lot of slack from other Nigerian doctors. Because again, going back, Nigerians are fundamentally homophobic people. Not all Nigerians, because I don't want anybody to hear this and say, oh my God. But yes, I do get it from Nigerians because they're my people. Of course, I have to talk about the people that I know. Okay. However, not all Nigerians are homophobic, but enough of them are homophobic. One, two, not all doctors are homophobic, but we have enough of them who are homophobic. And usually their pushback is based on morals. So I love talking about the code of ethics. We took an oath when we first said we're going to be doctors to first do no harm. And so that oath goes for every single patient you're going to see. But when we get to the LGBT plus community, what I ask them to do is first do no further harm because these people have already been traumatized, period, which is why they don't want to go to the doctor anyway, which is why we have such a huge health disparity in the LGBTQ community, which is why we have such a huge mental health distress, suicide rate, homicide rate, STDs, you name it, holy substance abuse, all the things, obesity, heart disease, all of them are higher in LGBT plus communities for two reasons. Number one, there's something called ACEs. ACEs is adverse childhood experiences. My first TED talk is based on that, which is childhood trauma. People who have the study that they did by the CDC did with Kaiser Permanente, they found in 1997, they found that people who are exposed to childhood trauma before the age of 17 go on to develop heart disease, kidney disease, heart failure, high blood pressure, mental health disorders, suicide, all of that, just for being exposed to childhood trauma. What is childhood trauma? Parental divorce, parental substance abuse, parental incarceration, right? Domestic violence in the house. When the children observe that divorce, parental death, homelessness, houselessness, racism, these are all traumas that Black people have a higher rate of experiencing. I have not even mentioned add queerness to that. So we can see how the medical community on this side should ideally be the savior for this poor little child who just happens to be queer, right? So we need to be more advocates. So one of the things my Dr. Lulu's Pride Corner, no, Dr. Lulu's, sorry, my bad, and my Allies in White Coats program does is helps doctors' offices, physicians' offices, and the like to become better allies by showing them these things that I just mentioned, right? That this is the class that I teach at the medical school here is called intersectionality in medicine. Intersectionality is what I just showed you, all of the confounding factors that create either privilege for me or the opposite of privilege, which is discrimination, right? So if you put all of those things in, if you bring my child and then throw in being a child of an immigrant, you can see how the average child who is queer is already fighting so many fires. And then you add parental rejection, church rejection. You see why the doctors, as advocates, have to first do no further harm to this child and create an oasis of love in their offices, an oasis of knowledge and acceptance and affirmation, and really just creating that safe space. Because a lot of times children have nowhere to go, and the doctor might be the only safe space. And then you have a doctor who is also homophobic, then we can understand why the suicide rate is so high, which is why I do the work ultimately is suicide prevention.
And I love that. I love that. And I appreciate and I definitely respect all of the work that you do. And I just want to thank you for coming on and just sharing a little bit about what you do with our readers. And I will make sure that they all have all of your contact information so that they can get in touch with you and all the families who need it out there. I hope that are watching can connect with you. But thank you so much for coming on, and thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your knowledge with you. We appreciate you so much in our community.
Thank you so much for holding space for me. I appreciate it myself too. So,
All right. And I will talk
and
to
for
you
anybody
soon.
who would, sorry,
Oh,
anybody who wants to, I know you have 1 minute to go. Please follow me on Instagram while I still have that. My Instagram page is Momatrician, oh, the Momatrician. So TheMomatrician, the Momatrician.
the
Thank
mama.
you.
Yeah, thank
Yes, that's
you.
mom and pediatrician together.
All right. I will see you later, and hopefully we'll come back with a part two.
Oh, yeah, please let me know.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.